Hello there. It's the afternoon of August 6th, 2023, and we've had a lot of rain recently and things are looking pretty good at the garden. It's almost peak wildflower season, so I thought I would do a walkthrough, see how things are looking. It's been about 10 days or so since my last one. This little shrub here is aronia, or black chokeberry. The fruits are starting to color up a little bit. They're not quite ready, but the nice thing about those fruits is they stay good on the bush for probably a month after they're ripe, so you don't have to pick them right away. And the birds don't seem to bother them too much, although the deer like to eat the plants, but not the fruit, apparently. These two American hazelnuts are from Mark Shepard's breeding program, and they've got a pretty good set of nuts on them this year. That sounded funny. Anyway, but yeah, that's a good hazelnut year this year. You can probably see in the background, cup plants are about at peak flower maybe, somewhere near. This peach tree here, the peaches are about tennis ball size, maybe between golf ball, tennis ball, pretty good size. Still thinning some off that have problems, but it'll be another good month or 6 weeks, I think, before those are ripe. They're a very late peach. Over here, I may come back around and walk through this other area, but I don't usually show this perspective over here, so I thought I'd change it a bit today. Still the tail end of these white fruited blackberries, but they never got much size to them, and I only had a few that were worth picking even, so not real excited about those. The butterfly bush here, I've been deadheading the flowers off of that, and it's beautiful. The flowers smell great. The butterflies enjoy it, so I like having at least one of those in the landscape. So, wildflower garden here is looking pretty good, although it's simplified. And here's a cat. Here's the neighbor's cat. Hey, big boss. How you doing? Actually, he's sitting near the graves of my other 3 cats who are buried here. Hi there, buddy. He's kind of got a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde personality, so I'm not going to pet him for long, but he's a cool cat. His name is Hunter, and he's a big fatso. Okay, so my other cats are buried here, here, and here. There's Cream Sun, and Tatsu, and Yu is behind. We have to put the grave markers up. There's a little pond here, and a little bench, and this native wildflower garden. And here we've got a graft of persimmon that's got some problems, but it's growing. I don't know what this kind of dark coloration is. They don't look too great, so I'm not totally confident in that one, but we'll see. Maybe it'll survive and pull out of that. But as we kind of pan here, you'll see all throughout the property that the Monarda are pretty much at peak flower now. And it's a cloudy day. It's been raining all day basically, so not a ton of bee activity outside. It's real humid, but it is a nice pleasant day once the rain stopped. So yeah, these are all cup plants here. There's a little pawpaw there, little pawpaw here, golden Alexander that's done, Monarda fistulosa. I've got gray-headed coneflower, and the regular echinacea coneflower there, purple coneflower. I've got a couple of late straggler butterfly milkweeds here, there, and there's one over here. The green-headed coneflower, that's what this mound of stuff is. That's not flowering yet, but that will be before too long. And the aromatnia quinces are putting some size on. Seeing a little bit of delayed drought stress on things like the serviceberry and some autumn olive bushes and some other things. I believe, we had about 6 weeks of very dry weather and sort of hot weather in the summer, although not nearly as bad as a lot of other people had it. So I think the signs of that are showing up in a lot of plants, like this autumn olive. You can see some yellowing leaves. This apple mint is kind of just starting to flower now, so that's cool. That's a big bee magnet, and again, not seeing many bees right now because of the weather, but if that came out in the morning on a sunny morning, you'd be all kinds of wild bees and butterflies and whatnot. This Rosa Sharon is kind of at peak flower now. Pokeweed, those flower for a long time and have fruits and flowers simultaneously, which is cool. Just added another section of path here. Been kind of sheet mulching, putting down cardboard, some of my grass clippings, then cardboard, then wood chips over the top to make sort of a sponge slash formal path through the middle of the garden here, because it looks nice and Also, it can just be sort of a sponge for moisture and mycelium and whatnot. Wild senna, these yellow flowers here, those are kind of at peak right now. This graft here of Illinois ever-bearing mulberry, the deer have not been onto that yet, which is really surprising. It's got about at least 3 feet of growth from the graft, which is cool. Yeah, you see like that hazelnut there has a dead section. That's probably from the drought, I would think. So we'll kind of pan through the normal path here. A little pawpaw sucker there. I did a graft. Oh, this is a little pawpaw sucker graft that's kind of growing, but not very convincingly, so I don't know if that's gonna be anything. That is IXL, and I have some pawpaw grafts that are growing okay, but we'll see if they have enough energy and health to harden off their growth before the winter time and come back next year. So yeah, this section looks really nice. Got Monarda, the green-headed coneflower, or I'm sorry, gray-headed coneflower. We've got Anise hyssop, which is these purple spikes here. That's one of my favorites. There's some bumblebees there. Common echinacea. So yeah, this is a great little section here. I love it. And panning over here, most of the stuff is done flowering. Still got some cup plants, but this pale Indian plantain is about to pop off, which is a beauty. Got really interesting leaves down the stem. And it's a neat plant. I think I planted a bunch of those one year, but that's the only one that I think is still alive. This pear tree here could use some thinning. Stupid amount of apples on the apple trees. There's some drought stress on that serviceberry there. Another nice wild senna in that fenced area. A lot of big blue stem. So just in the last week or two, big blue stem has put on tons of growth. So they're just starting to kind of set their seed heads here. So all this tall, spindly grass stuff is big blue stem. This little thing here might be one that got mowed. But you see here it's so wet that everything's kind of fallen over. But yeah, big blue stem's become a bit of a weed in this part of the garden. That's my new lawnmower that has a bagging attachment. I love it. Been putting down mulch here, there, and everywhere, which I think will pay off some dividends in the long run as we try to concentrate fertility in certain areas. So this little path here got a bunch of that a week or two ago. This sad-looking autumn olive cultivar will probably appreciate that. It's got some yellowing leaves. There's an American plum there that's got some fruit setting on it, but not nearly ripe yet. Another rose charn. There's a butterfly on the Monarda here, and I'm so not a butterfly expert. This is probably a type of swallowtail, but I really couldn't say for sure. But that's a beauty. So here we've got a serviceberry cultivar that might be Regent or something that keeps getting eaten. Canadian Saskatoon from Oikos. The deer or rabbits or something keep clipping that off. Got more apple mint here, and then this really sad looking gumi bush. And that thing there is I think it's a wild white indigo, probably some kind of a baptisia. Can't remember which color it is. So this Monarda hasn't even flowered yet. I don't know if they got mowed or what, but it's nice. There's some later ones. That one's already finished there. Some earlier ones and later ones. Yeah, the pear tree, I really need to get an orchard ladder and get up there and thin some of that stuff off the top. It may bend the whole top over as they size up. So dead looking honey locust there, and dead looking little leaf linden here with lacework leaves from the Japanese beetles. You can pull in for a view there. Yeah, these things are a bit of a nuisance. I don't really mind them. So now that since this tree is putting out all this new growth, actually this tree is planted as an edible leaf crop. So these tender leaves like this are perfect for eating. Probably it wouldn't normally have this flush of growth. And you see deer have been visiting here. They'd nip that off. But it seems like the top of this tree may not come back next year. I'm thinking it might not. So we'll see. I'll roll with it, whatever happens. Got some fresh deer droppings there. So yeah, deer are coming in to eat a lot of stuff, and that's some kind of droppings there too. I don't know what animal, but you know, there are apples falling over here from these overbearing apple trees. So that's drawing deer in, and probably a lot of other stuff too. So there's a little Nanking cherry there. Actually, I have eaten my first few apples this year already. It's just in early August. There was a branch on this one called Siesta that my friend Trevor and Mark grafted. And there's a reddish apple up there, so I think that may be a different cultivar too. You probably can't see it because it's dark, but the rest of this is a golden delicious tree, so I have to pay attention to that and see what it is. And this middle tree here is a Jonagold that doesn't really have any fruit this year. Must have got zapped by frost or something. But this, whatever this tree is here, has tons and tons and tons. And I don't know what to do with this. It's just gonna all go to waste because none of it's gonna be worth a damn. So the ground cover layer has sort of recovered from the drought. The ferns didn't all quite get fried yet. The nettles are going totally crazy. There's some Miyoga ginger and some other stuff that's already kind of gone dormant, like wild ginger and ramps and things like that. So as we pan over here, I want to show a couple of grafts that are next to each other. This persimmon graft is growing really well. This is Proc. Proc is a very vigorous grower. Both of the grafts I did of this are tremendously productive in growth. And then this chestnut here is wanting to flower. That is from the Winkle chestnut. So we'll see. They're not going to get pollinated, but that's good. We don't want fruit from that this year. Little half-dead looking clove currant. I forgot to show the fruit back there, but there is one that's still got some fruit on it. This tansy is just about to flower here. We've got rosinweed. That's the yellow flowers there. That is kind of just starting to flower now in the last week or so. Those are neat, and real kind of sandpapery leaves. There's a little gumi bush there. Hoping to get some growth on that this year so I can maybe collect some scions from it, because that's the good cultivar carmine. Got a little baby hazelnut here that's got a few nuts on it this year, so we'll kind of try to take note of how those are, if they're worth propagating. The Monarda didyma next to the common Monarda. Both are native species. And I guess this stuff is not really flowering in full effect yet, but this is the meadowsweet spirea, and it's kind of a shrubby, weedy, I don't know, it's not like a woody plant, but has a semi-woody structure, and it's kind of spreading out here. I do have some of those potted up, but so far nobody has seemed interested in those that I've offered. It's probably an underappreciated plant. This multi-graft apple has some apples on it, and we'll see how those do. My nursery area, I've got some stuff here still. I've given some stuff away, thankfully. There's some little chestnuts that I saved from the chipmunks after they dug them up. I was able to still keep them alive. There's some more European chestnuts, Bouche de Bédazac. I think that's how you say that. That's what some of these pots are. I've got some sunchokes that are totally defoliated. Got a few elderberries. It's just odds and ends, nothing too major. More chestnuts there. I do have a few chestnuts that are still alive in the growing beds that they did not get to, including some American chestnuts, which are very special, but it's going to be a trick to get these plants out of here with this goddamn chicken wire. It's going to really screw things up. So kind of regretting putting that down now, but I think it did save some, well, possibly save some things from the chipmunks. Over there, wild rose, it looks kind of yellow and has some issues. I don't know what's going on with that. This growing bed here, I really need to get some fertilizer of some type in here. And it looks kind of yellow, the growth. So there's a bunch of elderberry, and one of them is flowering or about to flower there. And this is willow. I've got 2 or 3 varieties of both. I've got a couple currants in there, and what else? All baby pawpaws. So then a really heck of a crop of purslane. The groundhog or something is getting up in here and eating the comfrey. There's a comfrey plant, which I don't even remember putting in there, but anyway, apparently that thing has a taste for comfrey. So there's some baby pawpaws. We'll let those grow for 2 years so they get a little bit of size to them before potting those up and giving them away or selling them or whatever. Another huge pokeweed. Sorry, I'm losing it here. Pokeweed, nice smelling flower actually. Yeah, peak Monarda season here. And I don't want to walk through that wet jungle there. This elderberry didn't set very much fruit at all, although this is pretty. This is the our native, I think I accidentally called it a wisteria in the last video, but it is our native clematis. This is Virgin's Bower. It's a bit of a weedy vine, but very pretty. I'm sure there'd be a lot of bees on it if the weather were a little better. But it looks nice growing with this elderberry, and it's not a big heavy woody vine. I think it kind of dies to the ground every year. So it's not, it plays more nicely with as a polyculture plant than say like a wild grape or something that's going to put on a lot of woody mass and weight. There's a flame willow that the deer keep trimmed up, and the currants, red and black currants, I seem to have a lot of trouble with deer on those too. Here's a poor little red currant. They've been eating this hazelnut. It's weird what they eat. Some places what they eat, what they don't eat. There's a sad looking clove currant. No fruit on that guy right now. This lighter colored stuff is wormwood. Got quite a bit of that. It likes to grow here. It's sort of a sage type relative. Just about to flower here is showy goldenrod, probably my favorite goldenrod. Not a weedy one, but I wish it were a little bit weedier actually. Coming over here, this is one of the oikos hazelnuts, and it's got a heck of a crop this year. It's bending the branches over, so that's impressive actually. Wow, look at that. I haven't even glanced at this year, but it looks good. Got wild grape kind of trying to crawl over it. Yeah, hazelnuts are good. I recommend hazelnuts for dry sandy sites like this. Here's a graft of gumi onto autumn olive. That's growing okay. Trying to give it some extra mulch to keep it alive. And I'm going to take a different route here. I'm going to go backwards. I'm not going to go all the way over and show the pawpaws over here because I don't want this to be an hour-long video. I've already rambled a lot. But we'll come this way through here and see what things look like from the opposite direction. This pear got some good growth. I topped it this year to so it wasn't so floppy. It was real floppy before. Took about half of the top off. There's a tulip poplar that it's sort of fighting its way back from the deer browsing. Trying to get above that. Brilliant colors on these little tender growths of sassafras. And this tender stuff here is really good to nibble on as you're walking down the trail. It's got a great flavor, real tender and mild. Some nice new growth on this gooseberry, although this thing never fruits. I think it does not have a partner. Show some grafts that I've done. The deer, this is called Candy Crisp or something. The deer have just murdered these two grafts. That must be a particularly tasty. Maybe the foliage is sweet as well as the fruit. They've been clipping this. That's probably a wild goose plum or something there. This tall thing is a Asian pear. And oh yeah, this is the Romatnia quince here. Hopefully it's not setting any fruit in this mess. But there's two grafts. This one is doing okay, and this one down here has been browsed multiple times. And then this is the foliage of the calorie pear that it's grafted onto. So yeah, in this jungle, we've got a lot of stuff going on. That droopy thing over there is a 9-bark. It's full size, mature size. We've got sassafras, we've got walnut, we've got lots of false indigo, we've got the kind of invasive rose. What is it? The Japanese rose. Damn, I'm blanking. Serviceberry. We've got wild autumn olive. We've got eastern red cedar. I'm not going to name everything, but anyway, there's a lot of stuff growing over here. Wild apples. This apple graft has been unmolested by the deer so far. The graft union is there. It's a cleft graft. Can we focus or not? We'll see. Probably, well, sort of. Anyway, that's the cleft graft, and it's taking off pretty well. Whatever variety that was. Pristine, cool. And this is one of my champ hazelnuts here. It's got a really good crop, as it usually does. Big fluffy, frilly things there. And some more of my mulch. And look at the growth on this pawpaw graft. This is excellent. That's really encouraging. If they'd all grown like that, I'd be real happy. But trying to give it a little bit more light, I want to thin some of this thicket of cherry, or I'm not sorry, wild goose plum down. And I'm going to show you this interesting grape over here. I believe this might be what they call summer grape. I don't see this species as often as I see the fox grape and the riverbank grape. But look at these crazy leaves. I think the leaves are real variable on this species, but it looks like something from another planet. And look at the tendrils. Look at the color on those. Pretty vivid. Maybe it doesn't show up on camera, but anyway, this is cool. The leaves are not fuzzy on the underside, so I know that it's not a fox grape, and they're totally different than a riverbank grape shape. So I'm going to let this grow for years and see. You know, it's kind of climbing up this old serviceberry tree that I planted. We'll see how it does. If it makes fruit, you know, grapes I think are dioecious. They're male or female, so maybe that's not ever going to make fruit, but we'll leave it for a while and see. We'll check in over here. So yeah, you're seeing some yellowing here on these false indigo. That is probably delayed drought stress. And when we've had rain like this, if you kind of jostle or shake the plants, you can get you know, a lot of that just gets wasted into evaporation into the air. But if you're under like a large tree or a medium-sized tree that you can shake like this thing, you could shake that and get all those drops down to the ground level, or at least get them most of the way down, so that they've got a better chance of being effective for something and putting something into the soil rather than just evaporating and seeding rainfall somewhere else down the line. Well, either way, it's okay. But you know, if you're in a dry situation, I like to do that. You know, go around and shake things. Nannyberries not coloring up yet. Some dead leaves. I don't know what's going on there. Maybe there's something that's bothering the terminal growth. Not sure. Or just be drought related sloughing. Got stalks of mullein here. Those are looking kind of majestic throughout the garden. Little fresh tender growth of common milkweed. So when you mow, it's actually good. You bumble buddy. It's good because you get some fresh growth of milkweed, which is actually really important. Otherwise, if I never mowed anything, it would all look really ragged and crappy. So mowing some parts does give you some fresh stuff, which is appreciated by the later series of monarchs, later, whatever you want to call them, groups, generations, I don't know. Black locust has had some problems with wind and also rain. So the weight of the rain plus wind has bent over some of these things into fantastical shapes. So I'm probably just going to come through and cut some of these things down rather than let them, or try to, you know, right them and straighten them out, because they're pretty much just a weed back here. And again, this is one, if I shake it, lots of water will come off. But yeah, so these aren't really large enough to be useful for anything, firewood or poles or anything. So that's okay. There's so many stems that it really doesn't matter. But yeah, they're kind of bent over into my paths here. And here's a poor chestnut. This thing's been transplanted, I think, a couple of times in its life, 2 or 3 times. It went to our friend's house at one point and then was dug up and brought back here. And it's a seedling of a good cultivar. I don't remember which, if it's Schlarbaum or one of the 3 that James Nave sent me one time. But anyway, I've got one there, and there's one, I think, over there somewhere. So I want to try to keep those alive. They're kind of special. Sago. And then there's another third one I can't recall. I think last time when I filmed the video, we were just about to get the flowers open on these winged sumac, and they are pretty much all open now. But again, because of the time of day, sorry, we're missing the pollinator action. But it is fun to watch. Here's another black locust that's leaned over. And there's a cornelian cherry there that has some fruit this year for the first time. Another little chestnut the deer have been browsing. More of my mulch. Yeah, more of these flowers. And over here, this is a cool graft I did, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. And this one is called Monarch, I believe. And I had had one fruit this year, and I ate that fruit the other day because I read that it was an early apple. And it's got really bad cedar apple rust. Maybe I'll cut this cedar tree down that's growing right into it. But it seems like it's supposed to be sort of disease resistant, but apparently not that disease. But yeah, here's some more of my mulch. This is kind of a deer path right here, but man, look at the apple rust on this stuff. It's pretty bad. But so far it's growing okay. And the graft union is right here. That was a cleft graft. There was 2 stems. This was the one on the north side. North is that way. And then the one on this side got removed. But it's totally healed over that graft union now. And it's got a weird growth habit. I think the top central leader must have got snapped off in a storm or something, because it doesn't really have one anymore. But I should thin some of this crap around it out. Here's an autumn olive with a pretty heavy fruit set there. There's another cornelian cherry there, and there's one farther down the way there. This is a different dogwood. I believe this is just sort of a common dogwood. I don't think it's a kusa, although I'd be happier if it was a kusa. We'll have to wait and see what it is. Actually got deer rubbed. I probably should put a fence around that. That's pretty bad. It's still alive though. Have to pay. No, I think it's a common dogwood, because I would have noticed the kusa flowers, probably more distinctive. We'll go this way since we never really walked this way. I did some mowing back here. There's some more leaning black locust everywhere. This is not black locust. This is the false indigo. Nice, tall, straight chestnut there. Probably has died to the ground a few times and regrown. A lot of leaf damage up there, if we can zoom and see. Probably it's not really showing very bright, but yeah, a lot of, I don't know what bug is bothering chestnuts, but something is. So we've got some autumn olive here. I've got a real hell of a patch of these creeping type thistles. They're pretty annoying. They finished their flowering, and now their kind of seed things are out. They've probably already dispersed, but it's a prickly plant. It spreads by rhizome. It's competing with a little jungle over here of cup plant. This little bit of the garden has richer soil than the rest, so things grow a little bit better. So maybe I'm hoping that thistle is only happy in this portion of the garden with this richer soil. That would be nice, because I really don't want to have it spreading everywhere. It's a bit annoying. Some winged sumac here and black locust with mixed chestnut. Actually, there's a lot of burrs on this chestnut over here that I'm seeing. More rosinweed here, there, and everywhere. So this chestnut has some burrs. That's good. And I think the winkle chestnut over here has some, maybe 3 or 4, not very many, but that's okay because the plant didn't grow that much last year. That's the winkle one right there. And also got browsed pretty heavily by deer. So in this area, there's some young adolescent chestnuts. Been thinning out the black locust canopy, which is what that is, and then my mowing stuff there. So yeah, sumac, whatever I gotta come and cut this horse nettle, lay that stuff down as a mulch. Yeah, this little sad graft here, I don't think that's gonna ever do anything, sorry. This tree doesn't seem to have any of its full-size apples. Maybe it got frosted or something. It only had like 2 or 3 apples last year, but there are the 2 main branches are both different cultivars. I think this one is black limber twig or something, and that one, I don't remember, probably one of the PRI apples. So yeah, man, I'm bummed that we're not seeing any pollinators on this stuff, but wrong time. So even though I think it's rained so much that we're officially out of our drought designation, my pond here, my test pit that's only 3 or 4 feet deep, I'm not really seeing any water in the bottom of it, but which that's actually probably good. We don't want water that close. I need to dig this out a little bit deeper so I have a better view. But this is my nice little wildflower area over here. This is always one of the showboat parts of the garden that looks nicest out of anything. Well, although it looks kind of rough now with everything laid over with the weight of the rain. But yeah, this area generally looks pretty good. These big silphiums are kind of maybe past peak flowering. This prairie dock and the compass plant, it looks like it's done. Its little seed flower heads are gone, the petals are gone. I see one little bee working over there on that thing. Let's see if we can focus on that. But yeah, the leaves of this prairie dock are very comically large. They're cool. And there's a 9-bark, got black locust in the overstory, so this is north here. But you sort of see the cascade of stuff there. Black locust and chestnuts are the taller things. Sumacs are kind of in the mid height. But yeah, these winged sumacs are so ornamental for a week or so during the year that they almost remind me of, what are those things that change with the pH that everyone likes? Anyway, they're the real common landscaping plant. I'm blanking on the hydrangeas. Yeah, there we go. They almost look like hydrangea flowers for a time. They're not very showy and they really don't have any fragrance. Sorry for the focus. Now this one is exceptionally bright colored. But yeah, I wish they had more of a fragrance because that would be great. You'd be a joy to walk around here. All right, this is a little chestnut graft that's growing. I'm trying to discourage the deer. It's got a little pollen happening there maybe. Cup plant here looking really good. Got a little bee taking his rest. Maybe got a drink of water there. Because you can see, there is water in that margin there as we go down. So it's a great wildlife plant. A bit aggressive for some landscapes, but I don't mind it. In my landscape, it's not that aggressive because it's too dry. Illinois everbearing mulberry is growing pretty good there. Yeah, look at this sumac, it's great. Big tall timber chestnut, looking good. Has some leaf problems, but it's got some burrs. I'm not going to zoom up to the sky because that seems to look like crap every time I try that. So anyway, you'll have to settle for these leaves. they're good sized leaves. Some of them are real nice and shiny. The ironweed, yeah, ironweed was just about to start last video, and so this video it's starting. That's really a brilliant purple color, and the deer don't seem to bother this too much. Nice plant. Enjoy having those around. So as we kind of pan down the path here, why is it so, color is weird. Need to keep adding more grass clippings around this chestnut here. This one is one of the Seguin selections. It always has these leaf issues. So I think if I just keep adding organic matter, it may remedy that. Now this looks like part of it is dying or something. It's got a branch that doesn't look too hot. So you can see, I think, what may be the beginnings of blight on this tree. Yeah, that's probably, well, that looks like a deer rub, which may have been a vector or a path for blight to enter. But this kind of vertical cracking doesn't really thrill me. See, there's some white stuff growing there. So I bet you this plant probably has blight. That's my guess. I'm not an expert, but I'm sure that blight is going to show up here sooner or later, and I'm actually surprised if it hasn't already. So that's my theory. Now, how long that lives or what will become of it, I don't know, but it does have some nuts this year. So we'll keep planting the seeds, and if it does die of blight, then so be it. That's fine. We want to find the blight-resistant ones, so it's good, to lose some and lose the weaker ones that can't hang. Let's see how the trunk of this guy looks. It doesn't look too bad. So these four here were sold as Seguin, although they're not the pure species Seguin. I'm not going to walk down that path. I'm going to walk down this path. So here, all this is winged sumac here, all this stuff. We've got a persimmon there, not grafted yet. Chestnut there, seedling chestnut back there. I like leaving the sumac around this stuff because it kind of psychs the deer out a little bit. They like to browse the sumac, somewhat. So the less obvious some of my plantings are, the better for a time, until they can sort of get something above deer browse level. Then, I can open it up more and have them be more obvious. So this is a good graft here on a persimmon. It's putting on some very, very nice growth, and I've been sticking branches of stuff in here to kind of psych the deer out again. I don't know where the grafting unit was, I don't know. Anyway, looks pretty good, whatever it is, whatever kind of graft it was, bark inlay or something. I'm proud of that growth there. Well, I shouldn't be proud, it's not like I am the one doing it, it's just like my luck. Chicken pin chestnut there and there, looking pretty good. They got some burrs on them. Let's hope that a lot of those have nuts in them. I won't walk down that path, I'll walk down this path. Maybe I'll take a different route here. Yeah, let's do that, because people are probably sick of the same old shit every time I do a video. So, little pawpaw here, that's kind of a wimpy one. But again, trying to add more mulch everywhere to bolster the growth of those. Ooh, that pawpaw does not look good there. What's going on with you, bud? All wrinkled up. There's some mulch. Another pawpaw there. I need to come and give these things some more water because they look pretty rough. That one there doesn't look as bad. There's a little one here too. Sorry for the fast camera movement. Got a, what do you call that thing? A hazel, witch hazel there. So let's walk over to the hedgerow, the power line hedgerow, see how things are growing here. This stuff wasn't necessarily bulldozed a few years ago, so it's semi-mature hedgerow. Things are 6 or 8 feet tall. In some cases, there's a Nanking cherry with a riverbank grape growing over it. Autumn olive. Actually, there's a tree that needs to come out. That is a quaking aspen. Here is a red osier dogwood, which this is one we sort of coppiced to see how it would regrow, but it's got a wild black cherry and some other weedy stuff. This oak growing in here. Sassafras. Look, these things flower like pretty much all through the season. They flower and fruit simultaneously. So some of these are already setting fruit like a month ago, and some of them are still flowering. So that's a neat plant just for that reason. Hazelnut here with some nuts on it. Not gigantic clusters, but there's a fair number on here, so that's exciting, encouraging. Look at the autumn olive. This thing is just towering over everything else. They just grow like crazy here. It's awesome. So I do interplant autumn olive with some things just to help other things along, and you can always chop those things down. Autumn olives are not real long-lived anyway. This part of the hedgerow was mangled, so the regrowth is not very hot here. There's hazelnut, yes, 9-bark with a little drought stress maybe. And you get some odd things, like there's wild grape, there's walnut. So I'm gonna try to keep on top of that so that I don't have trees growing up in this. There's walnuts I gotta get rid of. And the quaking aspen is like a colony that used to be here, or still is there. So those are probably gonna be a persistent, weed problem, but that's okay because it's a source of mulch. Here's an autumn olive that looks rough. That's similar to the ones I have up front, or the gumi. Got a sumac species here, which I don't necessarily want sumacs because that's kind of a maintenance problem too. I don't know if this is staghorn or what. Yeah, I think that's staghorn. But anyway, it's all just more mulch material. Just takes a little bit more management time. So next year, I'm probably gonna have to come. So my property kind of ends like here, and then this stuff belongs to Welch's. So there's some old hazelnut bushes that have been here for probably 70 or more years. My grandma remembers them from the 1940s, so maybe 80 years or more. Who knows? They could go back from before settlement, for all I know. But there's some oak regrowth in here, some kind of coppiced oak, and there's some autumn olive. I'll dig up some small ones and move those around. Walnut, but yeah, the oaks and the tree species, actually I probably should just kind of brush hog the whole thing, because I like to keep this as open as possible so that it will dissuade the power company from wanting to do like a scorched earth thing through my whole garden. The nicer I can sort of keep it. I think they're amenable to letting me have this hedgerow here, which is good, but I do want to keep it fairly open apart from this hedgerow, so I keep this nice wide laneway mowed here, And my mowing, I'm kind of staggering mowing some parts, but not the entire thing at once, so that you've got different ages of wildflowers, and you're not like necessarily annihilating all the bugs and things that are there. Pretty good nuts set on that. Wild hazelnut there. Autumn olive showing some drought stuff. We've got knapweed with monarda. They're kind of blending together. I don't have the all-out war on knapweed like I used to. I kind of am letting some of it go now. That autumn olive probably will die. That does not look good. That Nanking cherry doesn't look too hot either, but we'll keep adding mulch as we mow. So now panning over to the west here, we're kind of getting into Persimmonville, and we've got some nice growth on a few of my grafts here, like this one of Sweet Seedy Surprise. That's Dennis's name for this seedling of an oikos plant. This thing's grown really, really well. That's a great graft. And then this parent tree here, I think is maybe a male, I don't know. There's a coppiced bit of false indigo. It's about 6 feet tall now. Maybe I'll walk through the middle of the persimmon patch here to sort of show what it looks like. I'm hoping that within a few years this will look like a little forest, or at least a grove of trees, and not like just a bunch of dewberries and blue stem with the odd tree tube poking out of it. So there's a couple bigger trees, like that was a pretty nice one. There's a little decent one there. This one was a false alarm. I think it's a cherry that grew up. Probably a bird landed on my tree tube and planted a cherry there, and the cherry outgrew the persimmon that was there. This is a graft, but this has some leaf problems. I'm not going to go into the detail there. A little catalpa. There's some more rosin weed. So I've put woody material, so there's stumps and logs. There's a piece of white birch there from my mom's yard. She cut this tree down, and lots of wood chips here and there. And a lot of that's been grown over this year, so you can't see it. But anyway, it's under there. So I'm really hoping that will boost the growth of all these persimmons. And get the colors on this thing. That's really nice. Get these things up to tree size or graftable size at least sooner than later. And this is another proc, I think. And look at the ginormous leaves on this thing. Holy shit. That is a big leaf. That's great. Really nice growth. Probably should tie this up even more to protect that graft from snapping off with that kind of vigorous growth. It scares me a bit. So yeah, this is kind of the hazelnut. We're looking north now. Hoping in a few years that'll be a lot of trees, not just a bunch of little stumps. pretty good hazelnuts on that bush there and this bush here. I don't remember if these are Mark Shepherd ones or if these are wild ones. Some of those notes have been lost to time. All the ones that were replanted I know are Mark Shepherd ones. Just in this last few years since the power line chaos happened. But yeah, there's a lot of woody debris, wood, logs and things in there, which is helping to create better soil conditions and help everything grow over time. You know, it's like long-term investments. You're building up the soil the way nature does. 9-bark, serviceberry or nannyberry, whatever it is, maybe nannyberry. It's getting clipped off. There's a red osier dogwood, autumn olive. Huh, look at this little thing putting on nuts at that little size. It's about knee high. There's a nannyberry, serviceberry there. Wild carrot, let that grow wherever it wants to. Wild native rose, putting on some pretty good growth. This is kind of where the property ends back here, so we'll walk back here and pan back to show you how things are looking from this vantage point. So I'm gonna look down the north-south hedgerow here. So yeah, pretty much everything from here over, at least until you get several hundred feet back, is not owned by me. That's owned by Welch's. And I own, I don't know, 160 or 80 feet wide back here. And we're kind of, this is sort of the southern boundary of the property. It goes back like there, where these trees are growing up. So these trees I may have to cut down too, because they're going to be considered too close to the lines here within a few years. They're no danger right now, but they're a little too close for comfort. Oh, I have discovered some ground nesting hornet nests back here, or bees or something. So I'm going to be careful not to tread in those places, because that has not been stung yet this year, knock on wood, but I've probably come pretty close. You've got to look ahead of you a few feet. More mulch. There's a coppiced red osier dogwood, and there's one that's flowering and probably fruiting at the same time. Yep, there's white fruits here at the same time. Come on, focus. Focus, focus. There's fruits at the same time as flowering. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this video up shortly, but just thought I'd walk a bit of a different route than I normally do. So yeah, I think here this stuff is replanted chestnuts kind of this last fall, I think it was, yeah, about a year ago. And there are some ground wasp nests in there, so I'm not going to walk through there. There's actually one right around here too, by that tree, which looks really sickly. I'd like to go over and give it some water, but yeah, just over there. Let me see if I can zoom in. You can see there is like a opening in the ground, and yeah, I don't want to accidentally step into that, invite the fury of the swarm. Okay, nice Bergamble oak here is getting some acorns, I believe. I saw some, yeah, here's some acorns, little guys. Sorry for the focus issues. These phones do not focus very automatically. Come on, you asshole. Okay, sorry for the language. Anyway, so yeah, this oak savanna looking pretty good, looking pretty a little open, you know, more open than I would like it to. So I've added some shrubs in here. That's kind of a yellowing branch on that oak there. It doesn't look too hot. Hopefully that pulls through. Yeah, we had a good season for dewberries, and actually the wild blackberries have a pretty good season. That's kind of still going on. I guess I'll curve around this way. This wild American plum. These fruits are not really putting on any color yet, but they will in the next month or so. Got a lot of tripwires here happening, the dewberries. So yeah, on the American plum thicket here, there is the odd fruit here and there. It's not like loaded with fruit. But as the ones that I've planted, which there are several around here, plus that one, and it's probably 5 or 6 that I've planted back here, as they mature and start flowering and spreading out, I think we'll have some awesome fruit production back here on the American plums, which will be cool to see. It's a neat fruit. There's an echinacea back here. I must have planted that at some point. Little baby chestnut, rosin weed, wild blackberries, And something's probably eating these because I'm not seeing very many that are black. Maybe deer or something. There are some good ones. They'll probably size up a little bit better with all the rain we just have been getting. These aren't very big here. Man, this focus is really driving me nuts today. But yeah, there are some good ones back here. So anyway, thank you for watching my video, and 45 minutes in, God, early goldenrod. That's the chestnuts we saw earlier. More little winged sumac, more bad cedar apple rust on this wild serviceberry tree. Are you not focusing, you son of a bitch? Why is this thing not focused today? Man, hopefully that whole video is not out of focus. That'll be maddening. Okay, well, thanks for watching. I'm gonna cut it off here. I will see you again next time. Appreciate the viewers and comments. Thanks, bye.